Good day, this is Mission Control Houston. We're now looking at a live view inside the International Space Station Flight Control Room of the Christopher C. Kraft Mission Control Center, where the team seen here has been monitoring the systems aboard the station, following along and supporting the busy activities of the Expedition 30 crew members. Leading the Orbit 2 team here in the Station Flight Control Room today is Flight Director Ed Van Cise, seen in this view on the right-hand side of your screen, along with astronaut Jack Fisher next to him, serving as Capcom, relaying all ground messages up to the crew. Aboard the orbiting complex, the Expedition 30 crew is wrapping up what has been a full week of scientific research, maintenance of critical systems aboard the station, interacting with students and the public by answering questions of inquiring minds, and at the heart of their activities this week, preparations for a venture outdoors and a spacewalk plan for next week. NASA astronaut and commander of the complex, Dan Burbank, there on the left-hand side, with flight engineers and cosmonauts Anton Shkaplerov and Anatoly Ivanishyn, along with NASA astronaut on the right-hand side, Don Pettit, cosmonaut Oleg Kononenko, and European Space Agency astronaut Andrei Kuipers, are coming to a close of a week 11 of Expedition 30. Commander Burbank, Shkaplerov, and Ivanishyn now log 90 days in space as of today, while their Expedition 30 crewmates, Pettit, Kononenko, and Kuipers, will close out today with 52 days in space. And now for a look back of this week in space. On Monday, Expedition 30 Commander Dan Burbank had removed a filter tank assembly of the Advanced Recycle System so it can be restored to its regular configuration to work in concert with the Urine Processing Assembly, or UPA, part of the station's water recovery system. The UPA distills urine that is then converted to potable water and oxygen. Also on Monday, Oleg Kononenko and Anton Shkaplerov reviewed timeline procedures for their February 16 spacewalk. During that 6-hour excursion, the two cosmonauts will move one of two Strela hand-operated cranes from the Pirs docking compartment to the Poisk module and also install 5 debris shields on the Zvezda service module. Meanwhile, Don Pettit worked to reset a video overlay display for the smoke point in CoFlow experiment, also known as SPICE. The experiment determines the point at which gas jet flames begin to emit soot in microgravity. Studying a soot-emitting flame is important in understanding the ability of fires to spread. And also flight engineer Andrei Kuipers set up the portable pulmonary function system in advance of a session of the VO2 max experiment. VO2 max observes the aerobic capacity of an individual on a long-duration space mission, and by understanding the changes in aerobic capacity that occur within spaceflight, necessary adjustments can be made to spacewalk exercise countermeasures. Tuesday marked a busy day for the ISS International Space Station Expedition 30 crew as cosmonauts and astronauts worked together to prepare for the upcoming Russian spacewalk. Shkaplerov and Kononenko spent most of their day on Tuesday activating and inspecting the Russian Orlan spacesuits they will don for their spacewalk, while Commander Dan Burbank lent a hand in that preparation efforts as he configured a pair of cameras for use during the spacewalk. He then transferred those cameras along with additional spacewalk tools to the Russian segment of the station. Afterward, he provided a tutorial to Shkaplerov and Kononenko on the use of the dynamic onboard ubiquitous graphics software, which is a 3D virtual simulation tool that is used for robotics and spacewalk planning. Burbank also had stowed the filter tank assembly that he had removed on Monday's reconfiguration of the water recovery system and also performed some maintenance to the waste and hygiene compartment. On Tuesday, flight engineer Don Pettit installed expansion ports on 3 bowling ball free-flying satellites known as Synchronized Position, Hold, Engage, Reorient Experimental Satellites, or SPHERES. Those were used to test techniques that could lead to advancements in automated dockings, satellite servicing, and spaceflight assembly and emergency repairs. Pettit later worked with the capillary flow experiment that shown here that takes a close look at how fluids move up surfaces in a weightless environment. Results from that experiment will improve computer models used to design fluid transfer systems and fuel tanks on future spacecraft. On Wednesday, flight engineers Anton Shkaplerov and Oleg Kononenko continued with more spacewalk prep with a checkout of their spacesuits and hardware and tools. Commander Burbank and flight engineer Don Pettit had tested a communications unit that will assist with the rendezvous and capture of the SpaceX Dragon capsule. This is the first planned commercial cargo vehicle mission to the International Space Station. Also on Wednesday, Commander Burbank and Don Pettit took some time out just before to answer YouTube questions from the public. The pair answered questions like how a helium-filled balloon floats in space and also on Earth observations of the planet's natural changes. Flight engineer Andre Kuipers joined Burbank in collecting blood and urine samples for the SOLO experiment. This is the sodium loading in microgravity that observes a crew member's fluid and salt retention and how it affects body mass. On Wednesday, Commander Burbank also continued work on the binary colloidal alloy test 6, or BCAT-6. That study observes how microscopic particles interact with liquid crystals. Those results can also lead to the design of new materials with molecular precision. And flight engineer Anatoly Ivanishin had conducted work with the Russian Earth observation study called Uragan, or Hurricane. The experiment observes changes on Earth and seeks to predict the effects of both man-made and natural disasters. Also on Wednesday, the 6 crew members aboard the International Space Station reviewed a new respirator purge technique for their emergency mask as onboard training. And on Thursday, spacewalk preparations continued to take center stage for Expedition 30 crew members. Flight engineers Oleg Kononenko and Anton Shkaplerov tested the communication systems and biomedical sensor systems of their Russian Orlan spacesuits. Flight engineer Anatoly Ivanishin and Shkaplerov then installed the hatch mechanism to the Progress 46 cargo ship that was currently docked to the Pirs docking compartment. The hatch to the cargo ship was closed today to accommodate the upcoming spacewalk, which will begin in the Pirs docking compartment airlock. Commander Dan Burbank yesterday worked in the Kibo module on the removal of the data multiplexer from the inner communication system rack that is set for return aboard the SpaceX Dragon spacecraft. Burbank was later joined by flight engineer Andre Kuipers for some maintenance work on the total organic carbon analyzer, which is necessary for checking drinking water quality. And on Thursday, flight engineer Don Pettit installed hardware for a combustion experiment in the microgravity science glove box. The structure and liftoff in combustion experiment, or SLICE, investigates the nature of flames in microgravity and could lead to improvements in technologies that are aimed at reducing pollution and improving burning efficiency for a wide variety of industry. And wrapping up the week today, Friday, February 10th, spacewalk preparations continue to take center stage for Expedition 30 crew members. In advance of next week's 6-hour spacewalk outside the complex, the crew has closed the hatches to and also performed a hatch leak of the Progress 46 cargo ship currently docked to the Pirs docking compartment. That was to accommodate the spacewalk that will begin from that Pirs docking compartment airlock. Today, Station Commander Dan Burbank had conducted a valve motor checkout evaluation of the onboard amine swing bed. The amine swing bed is being tested aboard the station to one day serve as the system that removes carbon dioxide and moisture from the air, providing the crew breathable air supply. And Anatoly Ivanishin spent some time in the Russian segment of the house performing preventative maintenance to the service module's ventilation system, dusting a filter replacement, and cleaning in the Rosviet module. Flight engineer Don Pettit swapped out a remote sensor unit of the service module's internal wireless integrated system to troubleshoot and recover a channel of that system. He also reconfigured one of the onboard minus 80-degree laboratory freezers that is used to store biological and science samples that require refrigeration until returned to Earth for analysis. And flight engineer Kuipers performed maintenance to the onboard water recovery system. That water recovery system distills urine and condensation and converts it into consumable water for the crew aboard the space station. And the crew will then round out their day today with a regular daily planning conference before entering its pre-sleep period to kick off their weekend and close week 11 of Expedition 30 aboard the International Space Station. The crew is then scheduled to go to bed at 3:30 p.m. Central Time today. This is Mission Control Houston.